It's been a while since I've done a Mass Effect history video. I've made videos on people, organizations, but now I think it's a good time to make a video on the history of the Quarian-Geth War. This war is different from the others mentioned throughout the series, in that it's a war that has not only lasted for centuries, but was still ongoing by the time of Mass Effect 1. And one of the greatest things that you can accomplish as Shepard is putting it into it. We're going to talk about how the war started, all the way into its conclusion. So now let's go back to the beginning. To understand how this war took off, we need to talk about the creation of the Geth. Around 1895 CE, Quarians were looking to bolster their military and labor forces. And this is where the idea of the Geth came to fruition. The name Geth means servant of the people in the Quarian language. In order for the Geth to function as these servants, they would need to be able to perform more complex tasks without supervision. So the Quarians allow each Geth process to share data using an advanced neural network. So as the Quarians built more Geth, this ability allowed them to become increasingly intelligent, rapidly approaching sapience. This would end up becoming a major problem as the Geth started asking questions that only sentient beings would ask, like does this unit have a soul? The Quarians had essentially created an entire race of collective AIs, and decided that it would be better to shut down the Geth, and by shut down I mean destroy. This led to martial law on Rannoch, and the beginning of the Morning War. There were differences in opinions on the Geth amongst Quarians. Some Quarians sympathized with the Geth and tried to protect them, but they were met with force when they tried to do so. In return, some Geth tried to protect the creators from prosecution. Over time, the amount of Geth sympathizers were outnumbered by the Geth detractors. And as a result, the Geth had to start fighting back against their creators. The thing is that at first, the Geth didn't respond with violence to the termination order towards them. It was only after they started getting shot at that they decided to fire back. And boy, did they. The Geth eventually overwhelmed the Quarians. The Geth killed billions of Quarians during the war. Billions! The Quarians reached out to the Council for aid, but were denied. This led to the Quarians having to leave Rannoch in their home cluster, and were forced to live on a fleet of ships, becoming a nomadic race. We know this collection of ships as the Migrant Fleet. With the Quarians retreating, the Geth actually backed off. The reason they stopped is that they didn't know what the ramifications of destroying a whole race would be, so they let them go instead. They also saw the Quarians as too weak to be a true threat. The Geth were now safe. However, this ordeal left them less trusting of organics, so they closed off the far rim in Perseus Vale clusters. Quarian space now became Geth space. Any ship that came into their territory was attacked and destroyed, but they did monitor events outside of it. Not much is known about the Geth after the war, as the Geth stayed isolated for about the next 300 years. That is until the events of Mass Effect 1. Now for the Quarians, there were huge ramifications from this war. To twist the knife in deeper after their defeat, the Council stripped the Quarians of their embassy as punishment for their carelessness, and they've been nomads ever since. A lot of the discrimination against them in the present day tends to come from them creating the Geth in the first place, and the state of the galaxy because of it. A part of terminus space is closed off thanks to the Geth, and I'm sure what happens in Mass Effect 1 really didn't help things. On top of that, because they were refused aid, more in the monetary sense, the Quarians are a poor people, so they have to scrounge together what they can to survive, which also leads them to having the reputation as beggars and thieves. Although I don't know how true the thieving part of this is, they seem to be willing to do things the legit or gray area way to make money, but you know what they say, a few rotten apples spoils the bunch. However, despite everything, they still have their engineering skills to fall back on, which really comes in handy. The Geth didn't start emerging from their part of space until they teamed up with Saren and Sovereign. The Geth viewed Sovereign and the Reapers as gods, the pinnacle of synthetic life, and they fought Saren because he was the Reaper's agent or prophet. Look at them praying to the Reapers here. But anyway, the Geth believed that he had the means to find a conduit that would allow the Reapers to return. So these three factions joined together to form an unholy alliance, and ransacked their way throughout Council space and the Terminus systems, and eventually launched an assault on the Citadel itself, until they were stopped by Commander Shepard and the crew of the Normandy in 2183. The Quarian tali'zorah was invaluable to Shepard during the first game, as she provided the knowledge they needed of the Geth. After the Battle of the Citadel, the Geth that were still in Council space were hunted down by the Alliance. But the interesting thing is that the Geth that Shepard fought in Mass Effect 1 were a separate faction that had broken off from the main Geth. There was a schism that had happened within the Geth when tali'zorah or Sovereign approached them. You see, while not much is known about the Geth during their isolation, the machines were working on something. They wanted to create an object based on the Dyson Sphere concept that would allow them to house every single Geth program within it. Sovereign made them an offer. Technology so that they could complete their goal in exchange for helping it start the Reaper invasion. While the majority of the Geth dismissed the offer, there was another group that accepted it. These are the heretics that you'll fight throughout the series. It's kind of funny because while the heretic Geth revere Sovereign and the Reapers, Sovereign does not care for their devotion of it at all. It mainly sees them as tools for its own ambitions. The other Geth who didn't follow Sovereign sought out Commander Shepard, as they were the ones that had defeated Sovereign, and while it did take a while, eventually they do meet the Commander through the platform that they sent out to find them, later named Legion. Shepard can help Legion and the true Geth deal with the heretics, or not. The true Geth had a problem. The heretics did not rejoin the main Geth after the defeat of Sovereign. Rather, they continued development of a special virus that Sovereign had given them. Essentially, this virus could alter the way the Geth think. This virus could force the true Geth to follow the Reapers. However, if the virus was in the true Geth's hands, it could force the heretics to break away from them. If you decide to help out Legion, you could use the virus to rewrite the heretics, or to destroy their station. Either option deals a huge blow to the heretic faction. I know this doesn't have much to do with the war proper. This is more of the Geth's own civil war, but it is revisited in Mass Effect 3. But now on the Quarian side of things, during Tali's trial, dang, that girl was really going through it at this time. But anyway, it was discovered that the admirals had been contemplating war with the Geth, with each admiral having a different opinion on the matter. Admiral Gerrel is pro-war, Admiral Chorus is more for peace, Admiral Ron is in between, and Admiral Zane is in it for her own ambitions. Although you can go the route of telling them that the war is a bad idea, eventually they go to war anyway. In a way, I get it. At this point, the Quarians are tired of being nomads. They want their homeworld back. But what they did had consequences. You see, the Quarians actually managed to push the Geth back towards their home system. The Geth were unprepared for this attack, having prioritized their focus towards the Reapers. The Quarians destroyed a Geth megastructure, causing the machines to take a hit to their program numbers. With the Geth losing so many platforms, and as a consequence, lowering their intelligence, the Geth felt forced into making a deal with the Reapers, choosing survival over anything else. So basically, rewriting the heretics no longer matters. They went to the Reapers anyway. They allowed themselves to be controlled by Reaper code in order to become more effective fighters, and they were able to bring the fight to the Quarians, trapping their civilian ships and destroying much of their fleet. So now the Quarians are trapped in their home cluster by a Geth dreadnought that's transmitting the Reaper signal. That ship has to go, and this is where Shepard can meet Legion, or Geth VI depending on whether you played Mass Effect 2, or reactivated Legion. They were using Legion as a signal booster for the Reaper signal. Shepard and his team frees Legion, destroys the dreadnought, and manages to broker a shaky alliance between the two races. For now. Back on the Normandy, Legion explains why the Reaper code made the Geth so powerful. While Geth normally operate strictly off codes or programs, the Reaper virus allows their thought processes to become more organic in nature, giving them the possibility of true consciousness, the same way a Reaper is allowed to think. The Geth see this upgrade as beautiful, and they're willing to fight and die for it. They also mention that there's still a problem. While they did take out the Dreadnought and his long-range signal, there's a backup short-range signal being broadcasted from a Geth facility on Rannoch. Once that's back up, the butt-kicking is back on. Not to mention Admiral Chorus and his crew have been shot down on the planet, so now everyone needs to lock in and destroy the AA guns, save Chorus, work with Legion to destroy the Geth fighter squadrons attacking the Quarian fleet, you gain some primes from this, which is always nice, and then shut down the short-range transmitter at the facility. And this all leads to having to fight a whole Reaper that was hiding at the facility. Once the Reaper is down, there is an opening for the Quarian and Geth conflict to be resolved, one way or another. Legion wants to upload the Reaper upgrades to the other Geth, not only because they will be able to help Shepard in the future, but because of the sentience it gives them. Remember what I said earlier, the Geth are really attached to this virus. However, at the same time, the Quarian fleet is firing at the Geth fleet, unaware that the Geth are about to be back to full strength. Both parties are trying to save their people, and this can go a number of ways. It can end with the Quarian fleet being destroyed by allowing Legion to upload the Reaper code. You can stop Legion, but that leads to you having to put him down, which leads to the Quarians wiping out the Geth fleet. But there's another option, allowing Legion to upload the code and then persuading the Quarians to step down. However, the price will be that Legion dies, as copying the code wasn't enough. In this scene, it gets me every time.
Shepard Commander, we must return to them. We apologize. It's the only way.
Legion, the answer to your question was yes.
We know, Tali. But thank you. Helis and I.
If you can accomplish brokering peace between them, both the Geth and the Quarians will be on Earth working together to help Shepard finish the fight against the Reapers, effectively ending a 300-year conflict. When I look back at everything that happened between these two, I think I was a little too harsh on the Quarians. Yeah, they handled the Geth in the worst way you could have handled it, but at the same time, the Geth's intelligence was increasing fast. They feared they wouldn't be able to control the Geth after a certain point, so they panicked and tried to put them down. Hindsight is 2020, because after the wars concluded, they ended up working together in a mutual way. At points, I kind of felt bad for how they were treated by the other races. Yeah, they deserve to be punished, make no mistake about that. AIs were heavily regulated, even in the 1890s. So not only did they unleash the Geth, they broke Citadel law. But at the same time, they basically became pariahs to the galaxy at large. I mean, they got completely cut off from the Citadel. Not to mention being in a sterile environment such as their ships for so long, destroyed their already weak immune systems. So they were pretty much stuck in their suits. I say they paid for their mistake and then some. But the Geth aren't innocent either. They efficiently murdered a large part of the Quarian population, only really stopping when they felt that their creators were no longer a threat. And then they would go on to destroy any ships that entered their part of space. After what they went through, I do get it, but that was a bad choice because it reinforced how everyone felt about them. I don't know if you guys remember the MSV Cornucopia from Mass Effect 1, but apparently this ship ventured into Geth space, right? But instead of just destroying it, the Geth turned the crew into husk and sent it on a path back into Council space for someone to stumble upon what was waiting inside of it. That was wild. I also don't blame them for running to the Reapers. They weren't in the right mind after losing a lot of their programs due to the Quarians bombing their storage facility. The Quarians were on them, okay? They were in survival mode. If you was in their position, you might have considered it too. Plus, they gave some upgrades that could actually be of use for the war effort later. That's considered a win. And they turned on the Reapers anyway, so it's a win-win. Throughout the trilogy, hell, even before it, the Geth were fighting on two fronts. They were fighting against the Quarians, and the heretics that sided with the Reapers. This conflict reminds me a little bit of the Covenant schism in Mass Effect 2, where a faction of the Covenant broke off from the main group and then teamed up with the humans to fight the main group. However, compared to that civil war, this one can have a happy but bittersweet ending. And as Shepard, you could be right there to see it. I really love Mass Effect 2 and the Geth Fighter Squadron's mission in Mass Effect 3, because they really let us see the Geth side of things regarding the war. And I think we needed their context to understand both sides' point of view. But that's it for this video. I've been wanting to make this video for a while now, and I hope you all enjoyed this look into the Quarian-Geth war. If y'all would like more of these types of videos, let me know in the comments. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
DJ Sonic Freak.